Welcome to the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of August 15th, 2022. I'm Catherine Haleko, and I'm here with Terry Morrow.
Hello.
Nicole Eridix is off this week, so it's just the two of us talking, complaining, and obsessing. This week, we're complaining about home ownership and obsessing about sponsored events. We also take a couple of breaks for an entertainment discussion and a recommendation roundup. Today, we're talking about our kids making us proud. So there was this viral video. Terry, why don't you explain what happens in the video?
Well,
for anyone who hasn't seen it.
For anybody who didn't see this, because it was all over Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I kept seeing the video of this Little League kid who got beaned and then got back up, and they hit right at the edge of his helmet, it looked like, right by his ear. But he got up and he took his base, and then he looked over and he saw that the pitcher looked upset. So he jogged on over to the pitcher and gave him a hug and told him he was okay, or gave him some words of reassurance, and then went back to first base. And everybody, adults everywhere, went gaga over the sportsmanship and what a good kid, and oh my gosh, this is the best kid, and how wonderful, and good on his parents. Congratulations to his parents for raising such a great kid. And it really is very heartwarming, especially if you're looking for something, anything, please, oh my goodness, something on social media that makes me feel good, please. Maybe that's why it went viral this week. I don't know.
Yes.
But it was pretty much everywhere. And, everybody felt inspired about it, perhaps, except my husband, who, when I told him about it, said, "Why would you reassure the pitcher? You want him to be upset. You want your team to win. What are you doing? You don't go. Let him cry. Let him be upset. Let him be thrown. He'll pitch badly, and then your team will win."
Yeah.
So, for a responsible opposing viewpoint, I go to my husband. My heart's not warmed by that. I'm annoyed.
Right.
So. But it did, just the fact that everywhere I turned, people were talking about this lovely little story, made me think, have there been times when my kids have done something, I don't know, spontaneously kind or sportsmanlike or, pride-inducing? Has anybody ever said, good for your parents, they must have raised you right for you to be such a wonderful young person? So the one thing that sprung to mind immediately was when my son was in second grade. He was in a self-contained special ed class, and he had a buddy, and his teacher told me that one time his buddy was in timeout. And after a little while, apparently my son went up to the teacher and said, I think he's been in timeout long enough. Maybe you should let him out of timeout. Like a lawyer, like his representative. Right. I'm here to represent my friend. As his
representative.
I believe the punishment is now no longer fitting the crime. And I told my husband about this, and he said, I would have put him in timeout too. But the teacher was tickled by it, because my son was quite tiny at the time, and, just like, I think that you should let him out. Aww. So that was a very adorable thing, and I still feel pride about that he was, not just minding his own business there in school, but looking out for the little guy, looking out for the fella who spent a lot of time in timeout, and being his advocate. And I know there have been other times where people have told me, oh, good parenting. You raised him right when he's just been helpful doing stuff, helping to load the bus for Special Olympics, or, helping with the people's luggage, or helping to set up things or whatever. So I guess, there's been a few times, nothing viral worthy, but stuff that made me feel like, all right. Yeah. Something got through. That's great. Your kids have been really involved in sports. Have they ever done anything that made you feel like if you played it right, you could go viral?
I'm not thinking of anything right now, but I am thinking of a few years ago, my daughter went on a school trip that had a service component to it, right? So they went to Ecuador, and they did some touristy things, but they also were deep in the rainforest, working for some sort of community facility.
Uh-huh.
And they were doing like hard stuff, moving big rocks and digging holes and just, like labor, right? And apparently the kid that she was paired up with, that my daughter was paired up with, was like, oh my gosh, she doesn't stop. She's working so hard. Like, I feel like, a loser because she's just like, I can't keep up with her basically. And she's like barely, 5'1", and this was like a teenage boy. So he was quite impressed by her efforts. And he was kind of like, she's making, like, now I have to work extra hard. That was
so in the end, it turns around to be not such a good story. Like,
right.
I wish she would stop so I could take a nap.
Yeah, he was sort of like lightly complaining, but
yes.
When you hear that about your kid, you're proud of their efforts.
Yes.
And the other, my teen boy, he spends a lot of time in his room. And he doesn't have a job. He did apply for a job and they haven't called him, so he needs to follow up on that because everyone's desperate, everyone's hiring, right?
That's what we hear.
That's what we hear. But anyway, he had two watering the plants jobs, which I believe I mentioned
yes,
a couple weeks ago. And, I was very impressed with his responsibility on that. He would always make sure that he did that. Which is the basic. This is what you do. But still, I might have been a little worried, but he did it. So
yeah, tell him he's got to step up his internet, social media worthy activities,
right?
So that you can be proud.
There was one or two times when he was playing hockey, where sometimes there's a situation where one kid's in the penalty box and then another one gets a long penalty where you have more than one, and sometimes there's cases where one kid on the team can serve the penalty for another kid. Like, I don't really understand the rules, but he would usually volunteer. He would volunteer to do that, but it was more out of the I will be sitting on my butt for a little while than let me help the team.
Yeah, that would have been me. I resonate with that right there.
Right.
I'd viral that.
Let me take a little rest here in the box.
When I was a kid playing soccer, just playing soccer in school, in gym, I hated it so much, and I was so bad at it. And this was like when I was in elementary school, you didn't change shoes for PE, so everybody had their hard little shoes out there kicking the ball, and all I could see is my shin meeting their shoe. So I would always defend whatever part of the field nobody else was in. Yes. And then when they would come my way, I would go the other way. So over here, that's fine, I got it.
Sounds like my softball strategy, which was to be as far out in the outfield as possible for both teams. Yes. So never coming up to bat somehow because I was always way out in the outfield.
Yes. The strategies we develop for non-involvement. Yeah. Please don't kick the ball in my direction, please.
Right.
But, I was trying to think of something that my daughter has done, and she's a good girl, and she's very sweet. But there haven't been any big moments or teachers telling me things like they did with my son. But when she was a senior in high school, I don't know if I've talked about this before. She was in the marching band for 4 years, and they were very kind to her. But she was never like one of the top kids. I don't know that she actually played that much. I think she kind of waved her trombone around while they were marching. She keeps saying to me, "How can people play and march at the same time? I just don't understand." So, there was never any. I never expected any accolades for her at the annual awards dinner. That is just for her participating, that they allowed her to participate. That was great. So her senior year, we're sitting at the awards banquet, and the director, who was always very kind to her, gets up and starts talking about the recipient of the next award. And it took me about halfway through the speech for me to realize, oh my gosh, he's talking about my daughter. And then I was like, could you rewind that, please? So I could hear all the things you just said. I was just, because I wasn't paying attention to stuff, because it was never my kid. Right. And he gives this very nice speech about how she always tried and how she always showed up and how she never complained and all this stuff. It was lovely. And I think she wasn't listening either. Right. We just go to dinner, see people get awards, and go home. It's great. And so, and that was, and so then he called her up and she got I think a plaque. And it was so lovely. Yeah. And I almost blew it. It's
right.
my great moment for pride. And it just came out of nowhere. He could have just given me a little tip. Be sure to listen around this time.
I know. That happened to me at my daughter's skating banquet, that she got an award also. And as they're just starting, just like you said, as they're starting to describe it, I started to think, that could be her. And then sure enough it was. And I was like, man, I wish I could have videoed that whole speech,
Yeah,
but I
really wish I had even recorded it on my phone. It was so lovely. It was such a sweet speech that he made. And I don't think she really even heard it, because I think she was just, zoned out like one gets in a long awards banquet.
Sure.
So that was, you gotta watch for your viral moments, parents. You gotta keep the phone running all the time, just in case.
Just in case.
Your kid might do something lovely, and then won't you be happy to be able to share it with your friends?
That's right.
And if not, there's probably editing software so that you can make it look like he did something. It'd be great.
Right. Well, at least we can talk about it here on Ye Old Podcast, right?
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for, and that's it for today's round 1. Tune in tomorrow for our entertainment-themed round 2, and later in the week to find out what we're complaining about, obsessing about, and recommending right now. We're always interested in what you have to say, so drop us a comment on our website, our Facebook page, or Twitter, where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat.